On Eurosport. Hello and welcome once again from the Hazel Sports Complex in Brussels. This is the second and final day of the Women's European Gymnastics Championships, which means there are 4 more gold medals to be won in the individual apparatus finals. 4 times in the history of these championships, one gymnast has made a clean sweep of all the gold medals. Larissa Latinina of the Soviet Union did it in the first competition in 1957. Vera Chaslavska, the great Czech gymnast, did it twice, in 1965 and 1967. And Ludmila Teresheva emulated them in 1973. But Monica, it's unlikely that Svetlana Boginskaya, this year's all-round champion, can follow them.
Yes, because this is the first year in a women's major championship that all of the gymnasts in the individual apparatus finals start off with a blank score sheet. Previously, they carry forward a preliminary score from the all-around event, which meant that some gymnasts had an advantage of perhaps a fraction of a mark, but that was a tremendous psychological advantage and it put them slightly ahead of their rivals.
And it was also an incredibly tight all-round competition, Monica.
Yes, it was very exciting because really we didn't know where the medals were going to go in the all-around event. And I think in the individual apparatus finals there's going to be a tremendous spread of medals.
Well, if yesterday's anything to go by, we're in for more spectacular action. But in gymnastics, along with the thrills, there are inevitably spills.
At the other end of the
In the Olympic rotation order, which means vault first, and the rules are different to the all-round competition. Once again, the gymnasts perform 2 vaults, but this time they both count, and the 2 scores are averaged to give the final mark. And for me, there's a welcome return to the requirement that the 2 vaults must be totally different. For the last few years, gymnasts have been able to perform 2 vaults from the same family, with an extra twist counting as a different vault. But now we should see a good deal more variety. The 8 top scorers on this piece in yesterday's all-round have qualified, but remember, they start on equal terms. And even the order of competition has been decided by a draw. The horse in women's vaulting, crossways as against lengthways for the men, and it's 1 meter 20 centimeters high.
And the score for her first was 9.862. But in the individual apparatus finals, the women have to perform 2 vaults from 2 different sections. This her second vault. Handspring, front 1.5 tight. And the final score will be the average of the 2 vaults. So it's important that the vaulter demonstrates versatility, the ability to perform 2 vaults well.
9.9 for the second vault.
France's Karen Mermet. Tiny little girl, not much bigger than the actual horse itself. Traveling a long way from the apparatus, and this is what the judges are looking for, the height and the distance of the vault. And this is all determined by the cross speed down the runway. The round off was the cartwheel with an inward quarter turn, 1.5 somersaults. And that was an immaculately shaped vault.
Karine Mermet, still 14 years old. The rules for the European Championships say the gymnast must be at least 15 in the year of competition. She's not 15 until July. Comes from Créteil. .862 the score for that first vault. There it is, 6 judges, top and bottom marks are discarded, and the middle 4 averaged out. And in this competition, the judges can mark to hundredths, hence the 3-figure averages.
And the second vault from the Sukahara family. That's omitting the round-off approach onto the board, just a plain 2-footed jump. You will see the takeoff. Like a handspring with a half-twist entry, then 1.5 somersaults and a full twist in the puffed position. A Sukahara with a full twist. And that's amazing versatility from a 14-year-old to be able to produce 2 different vaults at this standard.
Next to go, Olga Strajeva from the Soviet Union. Strajeva, who took the bronze medal in the all-around championship. .675 the second vault. That average then 9.768. Gergana Pieva from Bulgaria still leads. Mermet at the moment in second place, but 6 more finalists still to vault. Olga Strajeva from the Soviet Union. The round-off vault again, full twist in the straight position. And Monica showing the sort of form and her body shape that marks the Russians out from almost every other nation.
Yes, and Strajeva is particularly lucky because she has such a beautifully aesthetic line. Her natural body line is beautiful.
Good position there to see how well she held that position through the air. The higher a gymnast gets, the more time they've got to show off that position. If they're a bit low, sometimes they've got to cheat their way out of it and pike the legs or even tuck the legs to get down and make a clean landing. But she was able to hold that straight position for a really long period. That is the board on which the number of the vault is marked. That 2.6 actually defines the Yurchenko vault with full twist in the straight position. And her score for the first vault, 9.925.
Good start for Strajeva. This makes the vault final particularly exciting because none of the gymnasts has an advantage going in. The second one, handspring, front somersault, a very much more popular vault now. The tariff has been lifted, so the maximum score she can gain on that is 9.9. Her mark couldn't exceed 9.9.
An interesting vault, the handspring front, because, Monica, much more difficult than it looks. It's not quite as spectacular as the Yurchenkos and the Sukaharas, but the rotation much more difficult, isn't it?
Much more difficult to achieve. As they kick out, they really ideally need to kick out with their feet in front of their hips and look down their bodies to see the floor. But they need so much rotation. There her feet hit the floor underneath her hips, causing her to tip forwards.
That's little Henrietta Anodi waiting for Strajeva's score. And 9.737, that's certainly unable to stop the rotation on the landing That gives her an average of 9.831, puts her in second place at the moment. Henrietta Onodi from Hungary. Little tiny gymnast.
Magnificent vault there from little Henrietta Onodi. She's charming. It's only her hair that pops up above the horse. Just about 129 centimeters tall, but extremely powerful.
I mean, she really is tiny. For our British viewers, that's just 4 feet 5 inches tall. Tiny.
And having such a light frame, she has to move and get power out of that Reuter board, and the Reuter board weighs just about as much as she has, so she has to direct her cross speed and her force very accurately into that board.
She's another 14-year-old, 9.937 for that first vault. A 10 there from the Greek judge. It is amazing, she is just 10 centimeters, 4 inches taller than the horse. She gets a bit of help from the springboard, which lifts her. This time, handspring front to the pike, in a pike position. It wasn't to the pike, it was to, I'm afraid, the seat drop.
But this again was where she aimed to go to do the vault as perfectly as she could, trying to open out so the feet came to the floor in front of the hips. In slow motion we can see this. But she didn't have quite enough rotation, because as the pike opens out, the rotation of the body slows down. The feet come in front of the hips, but she isn't quite in line, and that just causes her to sit down and lose 5/10, unfortunately. A clearer angle. .5 away, so she was only marked out of 9.5. The average, 9.668, leaves her way adrift. Romania's Daniela Silivash. And here Silivash could have an advantage, because I'm sure that she is capable of producing 2 10-tariff vaults. Whether or not she will remains to be seen. That's the first.
But I don't think she'll score a 10 for it, Monica. Not the best full twisting Yurchenko I have ever seen from Silivash. She looked to me a little bit low and a little bit leaden off the top of the horse.
I don't know whether we can see, but she actually hit her feet right on the top of the board, which predetermined that she had a very poor flight path. She really couldn't do much about it, and I think she knew that.
9.9. Yes, and that's quite an ordinary mark for her. Still marvelously controlled, well landed, good shape throughout it, but didn't get that flight and drive that we associate with a Silivash vault.
No, the landing really is the end product of the technique of the vault. Now, I've seen her train a handspring front, but she actually produced a Cuervo, which is a 10-tariff vault, so she immediately has a 0.1 advantage on her rivals today.
Silivash smarting after defeat in the all-round by the narrowest of margins, determined to get some golds today. There, the Cuervo vault front approach starts as a handspring, then twists and comes out in the back somersault.
And a very, very difficult vault to perform well. This is why it isn't widely used.
9.887. That gives her an average of 9.893. Into the lead at the moment.
Now again, the one person that could overhaul Daniela Silivash, and she knows that only too well, Svetlana Boginskaya, Olympic vault champion from the USSR. New European champions, Boginskaya, really nailed a good vault, just a step back on the landing as she always does. Brilliant flight, height and length.
Yes, to me, she got the little bit extra into the vault that Silevash didn't. Look at that, off the top of the horse. Beautiful flight, Monica.
Yes, really was high. Have a closer look at it. She does really rocket into the air. Pity about the landing there. She's always split legs coming into the floor.
I know it's one of the things that particularly annoys you because she gets everything else so right. But she's got the top score for her first vault so far, 9.937. Now, what can she put with it?
Oh, it might only be a 9.9 Parrot vault, but that was beautifully executed. Handspring front 1.5 tight. She's such a cool cookie.
Well, she can only score 9.9, but she'll go very close to that, I think. Tall gymnast, elegant, even on the runway. Beautifully landed. Good form throughout.
Excellent timing, 9.987.
The pike there must give it the extra 0.1, 9.987, so she was marked out of 10. That puts her into the lead.
Milena Mavrodyeva from Bulgaria, her first vault. The Bulgarians making her debut in major international competition.
The first European Championships for a long time where we haven't seen Boriana Stoyanova, but she's still in training, I believe, Monica.
Yes, that's true. Nice and high, but a little slack around the knees. Mavrodyeva only 14 years old. And that slackness cost her a little, but a good score, 9.912 for her first vault.
Another one like that, and she'll be in the medals. That the handspring front with pike. Front approach. Good plant on top of the horse. And gets the landing dead right. So difficult to time coming out of the somersault there. 9.937, an average of 9.924, and that's put her in the silver medal position. Definitely now a medal for Bulgaria.
Christina Bonchat from Romania. She had tremendous lift from the top of the horse, but she really did have trouble because she cast the takeoff over to the left, and she managed to control the cast on the vault. Obviously, the judges saw that 9.887. Bontash's second vault, and the handspring front 1.5 tight, which actually has been raised in value to a 10 tariff on the new code.
Well, she needs to get better than 9.893 to take the bronze away from Daniela Silevash, her Romanian compatriot.
Bontash, a terrific vaulter for her size, but not quite in with the luck, because she was under-rotated there. She had to bend her knees slightly before coming into land at the end of the pipe.
And she's done it, 9.925. That gives her an average of 9.906, and that's the bronze for Kristina Bontash. And another gold, though, for Svetlana Boginskaya from the Soviet Union. To the second final, the asymmetric bars, and first up, Daniela Silovash, still looking for her first gold of these championships.
And this asymmetric bar final is going to be so close. We had 110, but everything was so high in the nines. All 8 performers between 9.9 and 10, or just split by 1/10 of a mark, John.
Yes, Silovash, the second top scorer. They don't carry that score through, but psychologically she knows that she's only behind Strajeva. Beautifully performed. A kiss from Gabriela Potorak as she comes up onto the podium, because Potorak the next to go.
And on the bottom bar, that was an A mount, but other than that, which is the simplest performance, of course, she goes into the most difficult elements. Endos on the top bar, giant circle. You can see Gorak being prepared for all of her difficulties in the background. The coaches are allowed on the podium. She's wandering round here very subtly in preparation for her next move as she comes to the top bar. Coming up now for the Kachev, named after Kachev, the Russian who performed it on the high bar in the men's event. That's the giant and a backstraddle over the bar.
And that really is a Kachev. She swings round and really does come backwards. A lot of the girls just sort of drop backstraddle off the top bar, and I'm loath to call that a Kachev sometimes, but Silovash's definitely is. And the shoot front with half turn, 9.95 her score. A tremendous start. Silovash really setting the standard there with that. 6 judges, top and bottom marks are discarded, and the middle 4 averaged. Everything ready for Gabriela Potorak. And the Romanians, at the moment, lagging a little behind in the medal stakes, and they'll be very anxious to put that right.
Yes, as long as they don't force themselves into a situation where they become over-anxious to make errors. Another excellent routine, a little bit of shift in movement from side to side on the bar. But here the judges are looking for the minutest details in fault. Bent arms, too many hand movements where they move in the pirouette. Too much travel when they go from the bottom bar to the top bar.
Bottom bar 1.5 meters high, the top bar 2 meters 30, and they can adjust the distance between the bars to suit their height.
Transfer from the bottom to the top bar, the hecht, very difficult, and this a wonderful link. Healy straight up into the Jaeger, but she could have as much as a 10th penalty on the high bar when she went into the Jaeger, because she did have a twist in the hips.
Potorak coping remarkably well. She's grown, I would think, fully 3-4 inches since the Olympic Games. 9.912 her score. So she goes into second position behind Daniela Silovash, and they'll be very happy if they can keep Romania there, 1 and 2. Beata Storcha from Hungary done very well to make this final, because she only came into the all-round competition as a reserve at the last moment, because of an injury to Valeria Kiss.
Storcher, a well-seasoned performer in the top 36, though, in Seoul and in 1987 World Championships. Really able to cope with the big occasions.
One of the things to look for, lands beautifully there. One of the things to look for, I was about to say, on the asymmetric bars, virtually everything should be done with straight arms. And every time that they're having to bend those arms, it's really to cover up a fault and get round the bar.
I think the impression I've gathered from these European Championships so far is the tremendous improvement made on asymmetric bars. We have 8 finalists, and there's so little to choose between them. But the straight arms and straight body, straight legs, is really what we're looking for. Achieving the straight shape before the giant, and there's little body movement through the giant. The after there, closing the shoulder angle and arching the back slightly, which won't be looked upon favourably.
The double back dismount, a little bit of disagreement amongst the judges. I can see the head judge on the telephone. That would indicate to me that there's a big disparity between the marks that the judges are offering. And she's trying to find out why some people marked lower and some higher.
And I think the move that we just saw on the bottom bar could be the cause for that discussion. She was very low over the bottom bar and had a healthy arm bend, to say the least, on the 2 feet through, and she repeats the same element on the bottom bar.
9.687, there it is for Beata Storcher. She's in 3rd place, but I don't think that will be good enough to keep her there. Olga Strajeva from the Soviet Union, she set Brussels alight yesterday with her performance on this piece of apparatus, scored the perfect 10. If anybody's going to beat Silovash, it's her.
And this is just magnificent work. Everything so tight-legged, almost like a men's high bar routine. She floats through it with unbelievable ease. Wonderful shapes there in her giant. Cowboying the turf, stepping back, and I'm afraid that I don't think we'll see another 10 today, despite the brilliance of the routine.
Waiting to see that again. Very interesting on the dismount. She tried to cover it, was very clever, saluted the judges very quickly and walked out, but I think we shall see that she was very definitely leaning backwards. That's the dismount. Let's look at the earlier work first, though.
The Redokla mount, that's the forward somersault over the bar. This is the next move, the Shapaznikova, the straight inward somersault to the front uprise into the clear circle half turn. Followed by the Ginger, shooting over the bar. And then it's the last phase when she builds into the giant circles, where she swings around on the hands. These are the shapes that are beautiful. There's a Kachev, coming in rather shallow. But she really does get beautiful extension through the shoulders, and just look at the nice, tight, straight line. Almost perfect, and what a pity about that step.
The picture frozen at the all-important moment. She was actually on the way back there. There's that Redokla somersault onto the bars. Gets so much difficulty into that first 10 seconds of the exercise.
And the strength required to do one of those skills, let alone to link them together one after the other. superb technique and amazing strength, because when she comes out of the cat shed and goes into the giant phase, she almost gets an overextension of the shoulder joint.
And that's it. You can see there's the backward movement. And again, the judges deliberating over it long and hard. I think that is probably where they are disagreeing. She probably fooled a couple of them and not some of the others. Interesting, when she did her catch of every other gymnast, the coach steps round just in case she comes over the bar too far, because there could be a nasty accident if she fell onto the bottom bar. In this case, he was so confident that Strajeva would do the move perfectly, he didn't even bother.
She is an extremely competent bar worker. I've never seen anybody add so many difficult skills together so beautifully.
The audience getting impatient, but we're talking about deciding gold medals here, so they'll have to be patient. There's the score, 9.95 this time for Strajeva. We've got an equal first position. Daniela Silovash with Strajeva.
Germany now. These Germans have a tremendous tradition on this piece of apparatus. Max Gnauk, European champion in the 70s.
Double pike back, good finish, landed it really well. 17-year-old Antje Wilkenlo. We've not seen her in a major championship before, and the East Germans going through a stage of rebuilding, bringing out new gymnasts, all the familiar faces missing from these championships.
Wilkenlo gets through the routine, which has difficulty, but it's done in a business-like fashion with very little flair, often slack-kneed and booty-footed. And I think that she was very fortunate to ever make the final in the first place, and I can't see her getting into the medals at all.
When Monica Phelps says booty-footed, that's the biggest damnation of all. Booty, by that meaning, instead of extending the feet well, just like that, as you saw them on that final double back somersault, sticking out at right angles to the legs.
Wilkenlo is extremely strong. Her upper body work and her arm and shoulders are particularly strong, but she really must refine her legs, particularly on the last movement when she comes into the giant circle and does a full pirouette on the top bar. She splits the feet. She'd have been better to do a lesser difficult trick, but with much more polish. Head out of line there in the giant. This is particularly the bad move. 9.85 for Wilkenlo. That puts her in fourth place. She's not going to make the medal.
Unbelievably, a 10 there from the Bulgarian judge. Svetlana Boginskaya, 2 golds under her belt already, and she, of course, is capable of taking the gold in this one as well.
And this, John, is what makes the final so exciting, because even down to the 6th, 7th and 8th performers in the final, we know they're starting from a scratch situation, and we know that they're capable of either taking the gold or drawing with the leader.
Boginskaya salutes the judges. Pirouette through giant Kachev. Hasn't got quite the pace through the exercise that Strajeva has. Very difficult dismount, though.
Yes, not only the double back somersault, but putting a full twist in it. Boginskaya fascinates me because she looks a very serene character, but she really has got the eye of a tiger when it comes to competition. She went there to try and get a 10, but frankly, her bottom bar work isn't difficult enough, and she really did incur at least a 0.5 deduction on the dismount.
There, the 360-degree turn on the top of the high bar and the Kachev.
No two ways about it, though. She is poetry in motion. The movements that she can perform, she performs so well that execution faults she accumulates so few of. Lovely split onto the toe-off to handstand. Very, very difficult because it slows down the rotation. A hard dismount, even harder to land perfectly.
There she is, the all-round European champion, Svetlana Boginskaya. Kachev again, and her score just come up, 9.912. That takes her equal with Gabriela Potorak. They are joint third at the moment behind Silovash and Strajeva.
And Hungary's Henrietta Onodi, and if I can be so bold, she is my favourite to get the gold. This child has, or I shouldn't say child, because of her purity on the apparatus, 19 elements. Her routine is almost twice as long as any that we've seen before. Brilliant work, constantly on both bars.
Zips round the apparatus. And a beautiful line to her as well. She might be very young, but she's certainly learnt style and form. Tremendous exercise. Henrietta Onodi from Hungary. Well, she went through it all, and just the sheer number of moves and the amount of difficulty and the number of bonus points that she can pick up there, it makes her exercise, Michael, I think it should be marked out of about 11 instead of 10. She can only get 10, of course, but she's got so much extra in there.
Yes, something like that. She has 10 bonus points, and I think that that exercise is worth a 10 in comparison to what we've seen. She doesn't have her knees together. Physically, they won't go together. She isn't perfectly straight in the spine, but she has a very young physique. She has so much in, and it was so well executed. In comparison to what we've seen, I can't fail to see any reason why they can't give it a 10.
There's some gesticulating going on down there. The head judge once again on the telephone. We saw the Bulgarian judge give Antia Vilkinlo from East Germany a 10. She's probably giving this one 11.
The timing of every phase is so brilliant, and the landing perfect. She even comes into land and has the presence of mind to snap her heels together on the presentation at the end. It's really brilliant.
Just 14 years old, very assured young lady, as you can see.
Little full pirouette on the way to the high bar wherever there is a possibility of doing something a little more difficult than the norm. Onodi does. Well, she hasn't got a 10, but she's gone into the lead, and size she deserves it. Her score 9.962, and she must take the gold.
Henrietta Ranodi, 9.962. What a breakthrough into the big time for her. Silvervash, once again, relegated to silver. Not a happy championship for her. Eva Rueda now from Spain.
And this is an action-packed routine. It's not impossible that Silvervash could be relegated to bronze. Rueda by no means as sleek and linear as Silvervash. Brilliant technique on that dismount to whip in a double whip dismount.
And you can see there just how quickly the Western European nations are catching up with the Eastern Bloc countries. Eva Rueda right in the top flight. Has she done enough to get into the medals? At the moment, Henrietta Ranodi from Hungary has the gold, with Daniela Silvervash and Olga Strajeva sharing the silver.
On floor, it's very easy to see the different styles of a gymnast, but on asymmetric bars, this also happens. And Rueda has a very different style. She's a much chunkier gymnast, very, very powerful, lifts high from the bar in everything she does, but lacks elegance, and it just depends on how favorably the judges are looking upon her strength. Very advanced technique here, whipping the shoulders back to whip the rotation in for the double whip back dismount.
Not good enough, though. 9.887 her score. That means she finishes in 6th place. Lovely high catch of... She really does that as if it's a high bar move. Confirmation there of Eva Rueda's score, 9.887. Not good enough, though, for the medals. What a great moment for Hungary. Henrietta Ranodi taking the first gold in the Women's European Championships for Hungary. Daniela Silvervash and Olga Strajeva sharing the silver. Welcome back. Well, we're halfway through these individual apparatus finals. Gold on floor went to Boginskaya, gold on bars to this woman, Henrietta Ranodi. Can she add to it now on beam? She's first up. Flick. Difficult combination. She's got such difficult content to all her exercises for a 14-year-old. It's almost wrong to call her a woman, but they are the Women's European Championships. She's very much in senior competition here.
Yes, she's certainly very adult in her approach to competition, despite her years. So far, she's had a couple of minor adjustments, one hardly called wobbles, but they were detectable. Compulsory 360-degree turn. The routine perfectly judged, using each end of the beam. Brilliant work from Henrietta Onodi.
You can see her just appearing over the top of the beam there. The beam 1 meter 20 centimeters off the floor, and she's just 1 meter 40 centimeters tall. Does have its advantages. The beam 16 feet, nearly 5 meters long. It does mean that she can do more in one tumbling sequence than the other gymnasts.
Yes, also her feet are so tiny that to her the beam will seem much more like a road than a tightrope. Only 10 centimeters wide, it's barrel-shaped, the suedette covering, and there's a little filament of foam underneath the top of the suede to absorb their landing.
Alicia Fernandez, the next to go, just checking that her springboard, the rotor board, is in the right position. Fernandez even shorter than Onodi, just 1 meter 35. Really tiny little girl.
The double back somersault, the whip in the first somersault and the pike in the second, but unfortunately not a perfect landing. And to get a 10, everything about the routine, the amplitude, the landings have to be perfect.
There's a score 9.85 for Henrietta Onodi from Hungary. There are the 6 marks across the top of your screen, and the average 9.85. Ranked 1 at the moment, but I don't think that will be good enough for the gold.
Alicia Fernandez, right.
Really got to shut out all the sounds around the arena. Not so difficult in the finals because it's the only piece of apparatus being worked on. But in the all-round competition, all the noise of the music from the floor exercise and everything that's going on the other pieces. Quite a bad imbalance there.
And beam demands such thorough concentration because the slightest hesitancy puts the heart rate up, and then at the end, concentrate on your own heartbeat rather than on the next element. Nice forward roll into chest roll, box split combination. There are 7 compulsory components, although this is a voluntary exercise that the judges want to see, including a turn, combination of gymnastic and acrobatic elements.
Double back landing. She'll get a penalty on that. The double tuck back, she put her hands round the back of her legs to increase the rotation. That's what we call cowboying, and that is a deduction these days.
Fernandez's mount sideways onto the beam, a straight arm jump to handstand, into a tick-tock, not quite fulfilling the split leg position as she went over into the tick-tock. Standards so high in this individual apparatus final in the European Championships that a slight wobble is enough to knock a gymnast out of the gold medal position. There an imbalance and an adjustment before the leap, which wasn't too high.
For Fernandez, though, a tremendous achievement in making this final. We've had Eva Rueda in the bars final and now Alicia Fernandez in the beam final. That's the sort of progress that's happening in Spanish gymnastics. And when gymnasts start to appear regularly in finals, it does wonders for the sport, the growth of the sport in that country, and the standing of those gymnasts, because the judges start to expect to see them, and they take them more seriously. 9.737 the score for Alicia Fernandez. Second place at the moment, but some very good gymnasts still to come.
From Czechoslovakia, Monika Zabrzova. Handstand bridge mount. Zabrzova, a great technician. That was a very courageous opening because she started off with the rather slow backward spin into an arabesque. Very difficult to harness the adrenaline if one's a little bit nervous. Then into the tumble run. And that a very unusual element, a backflip to neck spring. Requirements include tumbling elements, high jumps, movements close to the beam, like rolls, forwards and backwards, chest rolls, splits. Nice change of direction there.
They heard the buzzer. She's got to be on the floor within 5 seconds of hearing that. The beam, one of the pieces of apparatus where there is a set time which the gymnast must not exceed. Bit weak on the finish, but apart from that, a lovely exercise.
Yes, it really had lovely variety in tempo and elements. Elements that went high and then low onto the beam. Such a pity about the dismount because she brought her feet underneath and staggered back really badly.
Svetlana Boginskaya. There's the all-round champion. She's next to go. Zabrzova, 9.75, takes her into second place. Svetlana Boginskaya, under the old system, she would have come through into this final with a .05 advantage over anybody else. She was the top scorer in the all-round competition on this piece with 9.975. But under the new rules, she comes in equal with all the other competitors.
And everybody will be watching this routine eagerly and anxiously because there was some concern that she may have left out a small portion of the routine, like a jump turn. That was what she may have left out yesterday. And the Romanians were very unhappy about the mark she received, which was instrumental in helping her to get the title of European champion.
Yes, it was on this piece, her third piece, that she leveled up with Silovash.
Good control coming out of the 360-degree turn. Elements going well. Double flick straight back.
She's landing so well, no sign of any faults on the landings. No waving of the arms around involuntarily to correct the balance. There's the dismount. Just splits those legs as she does. Now, yesterday she lost marks on the dismount because she cowboyed the double back. Wonder whether she was aware of that. One of the judges told me that she took away .05 for that on the dismount.
But very much a Western European panel. The judges from France, Switzerland, Italy, Belgium, Portugal, and a Polish judge in there. Solid front somersault mount, difficult and blind landing, and a very brisk opening. Sometimes Boginskaya is accused of being rather boring and slow, but her routines are becoming much more brisk.
Two back summers there. Everything has to be absolutely in line. There's the score. She takes the lead, 9.937, 9.95s and 9.9s from all the judges. All very close together there.
And from Romania, Gabriela Potorac, number 4 in the all-round Olympic Championship. Potorac, elegant and positive. Years old, really has grown recently. Power to weight ratio constantly changing.
Very precise hand movement, no hesitation there at all. That shows she's in perfect balance. Very important that the gymnasts get a good balance between backwards and forward movements, and Potorac really has a beautifully planned exercise.
Yes, and the tempo is so good because the tumbles tend to be rather slow and sustained, but the combination movements, the arabesques and hops, are so accurate. Good head and arm actions, flows all the time. This really has been an excellent routine. Flicks back, double back, beautiful landing. Well, that could take her into the lead to have one minor foot adjustment around about the end of the second leg, but that was really smashing.
That's right, I noticed that too. Just a little bit offline with one landing early in the exercise. There could be an 0.5, but Silovash has gone across, given her a hug and said, come on, that was good. Take the applause from the crowd, you deserve it.
Boginskaya sitting in the background wasn't too impressed at all. The mistake happened before this handstand pirouette, but from here onwards, the routine was perfect, really. She didn't put a foot out of line. She hit everything. Beautiful control on the backward roll to handstand. And the connecting jump into that balance, perfect. Yes, she does. She goes into the lead, a massive 9.975 for Gabriela Potorac.
Yes, 1, 2, 3 10s from the French, Italian and Belgian judges. The others all 9.95.
From West Germany, Antje Wilkenlow. Oh, she's already come to grief. Germany's Antje Wilkenlow come to grief on her mount, the front somersault straight off the side, 0.5 deduction, and so she's most certainly out of the medals already.
We were quite surprised in the all-round that she was marked as high as she was, and we definitely thought she'd be outclassed on this piece. Now being marked out of 9. But good experience for her nonetheless. Her first major championship, and that's a grueling ordeal for anybody.
Psychologically, this is very difficult for her because she knows no matter how well she performs, she hasn't got a chance at the medal. So now she's going through it, really testing her own character. Triple twist, not very well controlled, and rather a disaster from East Germany's Antje Milkenloh.
The splits. This work already showing a little diffidence, certainly not getting any height into those leaps. The confidence sapped by that early fall. Waiting to go. That's Olesa Dudnik. Antje Milkenloh's score just come up, 8.762. Olesa Dudnik from the Soviet Union, 14-year-old, not 15 until August. Made a big impact on these championships, though. What a sequence. Lovely tumbling from her.
Well, if a 10 is going to be scored on beam, Dudnik is capable. She just really has to get it all together. The mount was excellent. The first series, free cartwheel straight was excellent. Now, hit the big move, the Arab Spring full twisting back somersault, first time ever performed in a major championship.
And the free cartwheel and the full twisters so difficult on beam because they take the body out of line of the beam. Comparatively easy to go straight backwards or straight forwards, but to start twisting is so much more difficult.
From the point of view of grace and content, Dudnik has everything. Twisting back somersault, well, that was magnificent. John, that was the best beam exercise I've ever seen.
Praise doesn't come higher than that. And great hugging and kissing from Boginskaya, almost saying, take that, Potorak, you're in the lead, but we've still got something up our sleeves, and that something is Olesa Dudnik.
Well, if national coach Alexander Alexandrov was applauding his own performer, it must have been excellent. That's the dismount.
The crowd totally impressed, trying to build it into a 10 from the judges. 9.975. The boos go up. She's only got an equal mark with Gabriela Potorak. And calmly waiting through all of that hubbub, Daniela Silivash. Here's another gymnast capable of scoring a 10. The 1985 world champion on beam. And she's had a fairly rough so far. A silver, but no gold. Can she do it this time?
Silavash must be under incredible pressure. She's the last performer to go. She hasn't yet had a gold. She's seen an astounding performance from Dudnik, and she really has to pull out all the stops to get into first place. Terrific test of nerves here.
Quick back somersault. The gainer flick-flack. Another exercise that really flows.
This is superb gymnastics. Not once has she dropped her head. She looks totally confident. Pity about the landing. She did absolutely everything. I think the look of dismay on her face there, just because of the landing.
There it is. The shoulders have gone down now. I think she knows that she was in with a chance of the gold until that landing, but that was a big step back.
But to put in a performance of this standard, with this amount of composure under such pressure, extraordinary gymnastics. Silavash at her best. Here the flick, double straight, walk out onto one leg. Always positive. Lovely split leap. There, the two big leaps.
So far, it's absolutely beautiful. Her confidence in her landings. As you said, Monica, no hint of her head going down, trying to see where the feet are going to have to go to.
No, her concentration was immaculate.
Sometimes cheats that 360-degree turn, uses her foot against the side of the beam to stop herself, but no hint of it there. And this is where it goes just a little bit wrong. Didn't land it absolutely. And there's a score, 9.962. She's got the bronze, but that's not what she wanted. Confirmation of the result. Gabriela Potorak and Olesa Dudnik of the Soviet Union share the gold, a first gold in these championships for the Romanians. Daniela Silavash of Romania takes the bronze.
Is tumbling really well. The opening tumble with a double front and in the middle a double back. Rather a long wait before her final tumble. Pull him back out. Strong routine, excellent tumbles, especially in the first run, handspring, fly spring, double front. She won't be penalised for the rollout. She was well under control, and exquisite dance in between the tumbles too.
Yes, we should see a real contrast in styles in this floor final. Svetlana Boginskaya there, just getting ready for her exercise. But Strajeva, beautiful gymnast. The front somersault really cowboys it at the moment, but there's nobody else doing it, so they're not going to penalise her for that.
No, that's true. She won't lose any marks at all because there are so few men even performing that, let alone women.
A remarkable talent, Strajeva. The rising star of the Soviet team, and you can see why, because she's got such a beautiful combination of style and acrobatic ability.
Yes, when it comes to the giving out of natural talent, she got more than her fair share. She looks good, she's strong, she's supple, extremely powerful on her tumbles.
The whip back in the middle there, making that much more difficult. The double top back at the end.
Lovely jump series in the middle.
Time to really show a shape and define each jump.
Full split from the Arab spring.
Well, Boginskaya scored a 10 in the all-round, but for me, this girl's got more style. And this final tumbling run really a tribute to her strength. Most girls cannot even do the the single twisting double back somersault at the beginning of their exercise, but she puts it in at the end.
I don't think that we'll see many routines much better than that. 9.775 she scores. Obviously the bad landing at the end, coming in straight-legged, the judges didn't favour.
Penalised her very heavily there. 9.775 only. Now Svetlana Boginskaya, her floor exercise and her perfect 10 in the all-round won the European Championship for her.
Pulling back out tight went really well. 1.5 twisting walk out, double twist, no problem on her landing.
Another full in back out to finish with. Well, having said that, I think that was even better than she did it in the all-round. A tremendous floor exercise from Boginskaya. She's already got 2 gold medals, the all-around and the vaults. Can she make it a third? That really was beautifully performed.
The execution was almost perfect. When we're fortunate enough to see the routine twice in succession, we become more analytical of what she actually does, and the body movements are quite exquisite and under such perfect control. Her shapes are so unusual, and then she just seals it by adding absolutely brilliant tumbles. She really did lift that pull-in back out, and there's no doubt she was in control on the landing.
Absolutely in line, facing exactly the opposite diagonal as she landed. And she's got the 10. It had to be. To me, it was better than the performance in the all-around. Another 10 for Boginskaya. So we now know who the gold medalist is on floor. It's just a question of whether anyone else can equal her. And what a difficult moment for Christina Bontash, the young Romanian, having to watch that 10 go up, knowing she can't beat it. But now she must try and equal it. From Manesh, the same town as Nadia Comaneci.
Double straight opener. Romanians selected to put Potarash into the floor final, put Bontash into the floor final instead of Potarash, who originally qualified. This is tremendous experience for her, and she's a particularly good tumbler. Tumbling definitely Christina Bontash's forte, because the dance, not yet developed, very much arm movements rather than body movements. The contrast between Boginskaya and Bontash very, very apparent, and as much that Boginskaya's dance more mature.
Adrian Goriak there, the Romanian coach. And although the Romanian flag being waved, it's been a disappointing championship for them. The crowd clapping. But for me, just as you said, Monica, despite superb tumbles like that double straight back, nowhere near the other elements. 9.962, the boos go up from the crowd. She's a charismatic little character, but that was, I'm sure, correct marking.
Yes, her tumbling was thrilling. Very, very exciting, and this is what the audience loves to see. The Finn and the Czechoslovakian and the judge from Luxembourg saw fit to give a 10, but I didn't agree with it.
Henrietta Onodi, she's won Hungary's first ever medal, and a gold at that, in the Women's European Championships. Full of confidence, now she can enjoy herself.
That's brilliant. A triple twister, she just twinkled it like a pencil and came into a perfect land.
Lovely twist, and then the punch front, demonstrating that she had landed the first somersault really perfectly. Pull-in back out, also to a perfect landing. Marvelous exercise, but these little girls like Bontash and Onodi, to me, can never actually match the Boginskayas at the moment. Terrific exercise, but they just haven't the content in the the dance element.
Yes, I totally agree. If that had been a tumbling competition, then I would have said, yes, it was worth a 10. But as it's a floor exercise, incorporating dance, execution, and leap, then...
Having said that, the tumbles really were so well landed, we mustn't count one out. A fickle crowd switching their favours. A moment or two ago, there they were cheering for Bontash. Now they're trying to get the judges to give little Henrietta Onodi a 10. But no, the judges won't be swayed, and quite right too. 9.962. Tremendous floor exercise, but not as good as Boginskaya's.
Final now, Daniela Silivas. Can she squeeze a 10 and share that gold medal with Svetlana Boginskaya?
And she's capable of it. She is the Olympic champion on the floor. And I can tell you discussions went on long into the night as to whether she also deserved a 10 for her floor exercise with Boginskaya in the all-round.
A middle tumble with about 11 elements in and not hinting tiredness. Good body isolation so that she's demonstrating to the judges her ability to dance and to tumble. Now the final tumbles. Yesterday she did a double tuck. Today she's done a full in back out. Well, I'm sure that should get a 10. So well. Good tactical move there from Daniela Silivas.
Big smile from her. We felt that going just for the double tap back somersault at the end of her floor exercise in the all-round competition probably cost her the gold. Now she's put everything in, all the difficulties she can muster. Will she get the 10? That was the difference between Boginskaya's exercise and hers yesterday. Boginskaya finished with a 10. She didn't. There it is. 10 for Silivas. A gold at last for her. Joint gold medalists on the floor. Svetlana Boginskaya and Daniela Silivas. Straight 10s all the way through from all the judges.
And from the second she landed that pull-in back out, she knew. Spain's Eva Rueda finishing 7th in the all-round event. Rueda, the top Western European in the Seoul Olympics.
What power there. Rueda managing a double straight back, even though she's a much heavier gymnast than the ones we've just been watching. 51 kilograms. See how heavily she's got those ankles strapped.
I think the strapping is more protective because she is so powerful that she can hardly harness the height that she gets from her tumbles. Particularly this middle one. Generally she gets extremely high. Just look at that double back front thrust. it's taken quite a long time to develop the necessary dance skills to match this wonderful tumbling. 10 out of 10 for the strength of the tumbles, but the dance wasn't quite good enough to match.
Eva Rueda, 17 years old. And this really not the part of her exercise to admire. Not in the same league in this department as Boginskaya and Silovash. There's a score, though, excellent score, 9.9 for Rueda. All the judges agreed, apart from the Luxembourg judge, who dropped her even lower to 9.8. That puts her in 5th position, and that's a tremendous achievement if she can keep that position. Ahead, for instance, of Olga Strajeva of the Soviet Union.
From Bulgaria, Gergana Pieva.
An excellent exercise, but I'm afraid not quite in the same league as the top Russians and Romanians. Nevertheless, an excellent performance from her. She was a member of the Bulgarian team that came 5th in the World Championships in '87 and 5th in the Olympic Games in '88.
Really does get a long run into opening tumble, full in, back out, piked. Good series of tumbles. Almost the triple twist in the middle run. The link-up moves smartly performed. The Bulgarians renowned for their clever choreography on the dance and the acrobatic skills. And the final tumble, a double back tucked, and after that she had plenty of steam to work across the floor. It really was a valiant effort.
There's that triple twist, didn't quite make it, and her score, 9.837, puts her in 6th place. Milena Mavrodieva, also from Bulgaria now, the last gymnast to go in this, the last final, the floor. Lovely, beautiful height there on that double straight back.
gymnasts can choose their own accompaniment. At one time they had to use one instrument, and the piano or the drums or the guitar were very popular, but now they can have orchestrated music. It's rather unusual, a drum solo with a little integration of music. That ball 5 cents away. Her second final. She made the vault final. One silver medal there, but I don't think her floor will be good enough to get into the medals with that fall. I'm sure we will see her in the future because her routine demonstrated extremely high skill level on both the dance and the gymnastic and acrobatic side.
Just waiting for Mavrodieva's score, but no question with the fall in the exercise of her getting anywhere near the medals.
And that really was one of the best efforts I've seen. It's a double back somersault straight. The first somersault was straight, the second one only slightly dished. Mavrodiev must be extremely fit because the routine moved at a tremendous pace. She went from tumble into dance. She probably had more elements in than almost any other performer, but only 9.25 for her, the fall costing her 5 tenths. That takes her down into 8th position.
Confirmation then. Voginskaya's third gold medal and Daniela Silovash's first as they jointly take the floor title. Cristina Bontaș from Romania taking the bronze with Henrietta Onodi from Hungary. Voginskaya's third gold medal and Daniela Silovash's first as they jointly take the floor title. Cristina Bontaș from Romania taking the bronze with Henrietta Onodi from Hungary. Well, that's it from these exciting Women's European Gymnastics Championships in Brussels. Has to be said that just as in the Olympics, the Russians just getting the edge over the Romanians. Battle will be renewed in the World Championships in the autumn from Stuttgart. You can see those, of course, here on Eurosport. We leave you with those two perfect 10s on floor.